So, hey, Anthony from Haslage here. And this is Stand-Up Comedy 101. I am not teaching a course. So, over the course of the better part of a decade, I have been writing material for this comedy act. I was like, oh, someday I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this. Well, this is it, I guess. So, I have this script, and I'm going to read these things to you. Now, I would like comments, constructive criticism, if... like maybe you heard this somewhere before. Now, the problem is I have released some of this stuff in social media. So first off, I'll be annoyed if somebody used my material without permission. And second, I'd be annoyed with myself if maybe I heard it and like a couple days later I wrote it down thinking, oh, this is great stuff I'm just magically coming up with. And by the way, it does happen. I just prefer not to be the one doing it. So anyway, and I'm going to start now. For those of you who do not know me, you may have seen me on the most recent season of Last Comic Standing. You don't need to applaud. I was only on camera once as the crane passed over my seat in the audience. Keeping that in mind, I have been told that some people do not find me to be funny. So I went to a local Chipotle to test out my material, and as far as I'm aware, no one got sick. Okay. I'm not a typical comedian, as my jokes usually do not land. With that said, I thank you in advance for paying and no refunds. I hate small talk. When someone asks me what's up, I never have an appropriate response. I never have anything happening, and the only thing that is up, air quotes, is the ceiling or the sky. But if you catch me in the right mood, I will usually complain about someone or something. Then the next person who asks me what's up will then hear me complain about how the last person who spoke to me either wanted to waste my time chatting or seemed unsettled about me complaining after they started the conversation. The lesson here is just don't talk to me. A long time ago, back in the olden days when people became adults, they worked and then they bought homes. Now people live with their parents longer and they own more property in virtual reality than in real life. That means in the future, people are going to be wearing their virtual reality helmets and yelling at the kids to get off of their virtual lawns. It is already not uncommon for people to file real-life police reports for virtual items being stolen online. Hell, it was even a storyline in Big Bang Theory. I was at the Bureau of Motor Vehicles with my brother so he could pick up his temporary driver's license. When he finally gets to the teller, she asked him if the information on his state identification was correct. When she gets to confirming his weight, he hesitates to respond. After a few moments of starts and stutters, I get frustrated and yell out to him to say yes. Yes, the weight on his license is the correct weight. It is not like the police officer is going to pull him over because he is driving too fat. The police officer is not going to ask him to get out of the car and tell him to stand on a scale so that he can make sure that his weight on his license is accurate. Then arrest you if it does not match. The teller then responds, "You never know." I am a gamer. I play games until completion or when I finish the game. There are two different things, trust me. A while back, I bought Call of Duty Modern Warfare and completed the story mode. Spectacular ending. And I particularly enjoyed it because it was Air Force One. It was the final mission. I eventually ended up playing online in the game for the first time. I found myself in a squad of decent guys, and after about a half hour, a new person joined. At first, we were not sure if this was a kid or somebody using the voice modulator. Up until that point, the conversation had been civil. So, civil group of guys playing, and then all of a sudden this new person comes in. This new person was swearing and calling us all names while shooting at us. Obviously, being on their team, he could not hurt us, but the other guys were getting annoyed. After about 15 minutes, we hear a woman yelling in the background of one of the players' microphones saying that they should be in bed. Keep in mind, all of the guys prior to this new person were adults. We all started laughing as it was obvious that it was a kid who was being rude. The kid responds to his mother with vulgarity, and the next thing we hear is something hitting the microphone. The kid starts crying and screaming at his mother. The guy started to crack up as it was hilarious. Eventually, we hear the kid's microphone fall onto the floor while his mother beats the hell out of him as they both exchange vulgarities. Suddenly, the kid's microphone goes dead and his character disconnects. The other players applaud and cheer. That was the last time I played a Call of Duty game online. Kids should not be playing these games. He ruined it for the rest of us, but it was just so funny. I rather enjoy video games. A few years ago, I had to cut back how many new ones I were buying because by the time I would play some of them, they would be half price at the store. In other words, I could have waited and just bought the game for less. Anyway, GameStop is typically my video game store of choice. Every so often, they'll send me emails telling me how much my video game collection is worth. The moment they started buying retro games, I went from owning hundreds of dollars worth of video games to thousands. The problem was, like an idiot, I was spring cleaning and sold my retro video games for all of them, just the whole collection for $300 just before they started buying them. Why, you ask? Because for years, no one wanted my games, and I figured that they were almost worthless. I am a fan of anime, mostly the mainstream stuff. My favorite series is Dragon Ball Z. This series has been the inspiration behind a number of memes on the internet. For example, there is one where it shows a picture of a character yelling, "It's over 9,000." How is this relevant to daily life to be a meme? What is over 9,000? Is it the temperature? Is it the length of something? Last I checked, none of us had anything over 9,000 except maybe a bank balance. And that is something you should not be sharing over the internet. Wolverine, best known as a member of the X-Men, has a move known as the wall climb. The wall climb is him putting out his claws and sticking onto a vertical surface so he can move upwards. Imagine Magneto's on top of a building in downtown Manhattan and is going nuts. Wolverine needs to get to the top of the building. This is where the wall climb comes in handy. However, no one has ever seemed to consider the amount of damage a wall climb causes. Just imagine how many dollars Wolverine has cost other people by poking holes into their walls. While Wolverine is climbing up the walls, there is a guy leaning against the wall, eating a bowl of cereal and watching the Saturday morning cartoons. All of a sudden, he gets skewered in the head. A couple floors later, Wolverine pokes through another wall while the woman is taking a shower, and now she's dead. Then he pokes his claws through another apartment just in time to save the people inside because there was no ventilation in the room due to being, on fire. And ends up evening up his deaths to saves ratio. Let us never forget the property damage and funeral costs. Who is paying for that? Repairs will need to be made, and property damage typically only focuses on public areas. What insurance plans cover accidental superhero death and injury? Do not tell me that is part of damage control's job. Now, if you don't know what damage control is, it is an entity Marvel created to clean up the wreckage, damage, etc. from superhero fights. Now, I play Pokemon Go. I do it to collect all of the Pokemon because you gotta collect them all. That is my only goal because it is definitely not to exercise or to socialize with others. When I finally have every Pokemon collected, I will ascend to heaven as the rapture begins or a car hits me because I was way too focused on my smartphone. For maybe about a second, I will feel guilty about everyone else in the car, but then again, no one wanted to catch Pokemon for me while I was driving. Let me get this off my chest real quick. I am Jewish. And much like most of the ones that I know, we love bacon. Bacon goes with everything. Matzo ball soup, Hamantash and matzo crackers, and kosher dill pickles. Do I want a bacon cheeseburger? Heck yeah. If I'm going to break religious doctrine, I'm going to do it the best way I can. What about ham for Hanukkah? You bet. And I'll probably eat half of the ham myself, provided it is actually honey-baked ham. No one told me I had to suffer while breaking religious doctrine. Now, I'm not a stereotypical Jew. Other than my love of bacon, I'm also not rich. I do not own a house. My car is over 10 years old. And while I have 4 degrees, the most recent being a pre-law degree, I do not have a job in the law field. As a result, I have decided to retire. Now, I just do whatever I want as long as it does not cost anything. Now, I also love ham, but not just any ham. That honey-baked ham that seems like everyone has for dinner during the holidays. It has that crunchy outer coating and that sweet glaze. Once a year, I can't eat all that I can, and I do, usually over multiple days. So much so that I do not need to eat any more ham until the next holiday season. My only real hurdle is that the rabbi keeps asking me to stop bringing hams to Hanukkah dinner at the synagogue. As I've gotten older, I have decided to cut certain foods out of my diet. One of those foods was corn. I figured it was safe, seeing as how I am not a chicken. Yet, after weeks of not touching corn, all I still seem to find after a visit to the bathroom is corn. I sometimes wonder if someone drops corn into my mouth while I'm sleeping, or maybe I am sleepwalking to the neighbors' gardens and just eating their corn. Either way, I'm afraid to go to sleep. My favorite restaurant is Taco Bell. The biggest problem with Taco Bell is that I always go there with the intent of buying something different each time, but I end up buying the same thing all of the time. I typically pick a couple of bean burritos, a couple of shredded chicken quesadillas, and maybe one of the special item of the month, whatever that is. It varies. In early 2016, my doctor informed me that I needed to stop eating red meat, so when I went to Taco Bell, I could not have anything with beef on it. Since having to adjust my diet, twice I've gone to Taco Bell and they've had no refried beans. Like, I do not understand how a faux Mexican restaurant could be out of refried beans. This most recent time I asked how long I would have to wait for fresh beans to be prepared. They responded by saying that it would take a half hour. My question is, are they picking the beans, washing the beans, and then smashing the beans before they heat them up? There is no reason it should take more than 5 minutes to heat refried beans. So then I ended up at Burger King and ordered a Whopperito. I have asthma and it gets worse the older that I get. Then when I was a teenager, I magically developed allergies. Now I am allergic to pollen, pet dander, other people, in the air. It hurts to breathe sometimes. The first time that I was exposed to pot, I got super sick. My chest tightened, my eyes watered. Then I got dizzy and started gagging and gasping for air. Now imagine that I was on a dinner date with a girl and I was meeting her family for the first time, and for dessert, they lit the dankest of doobies. That actually happened to me in my junior year of high school. I support the legal recreational use of pot while everyone else is doped up. My lack of productivity will seem OCD level, AAA personality. I was in the restroom and my legs fell asleep. Then so did I. It was too bad it happened while I was standing at the urinal. I ruined it. Oh, I ruined it by laughing. I recently found a gray hair, down below. My OCD does not allow for things that do not match to exist, so I plucked it. A worded device, it hurts a lot. The problem now is that the sight of a full moon causes arousal. It is really embarrassing when I'm out with the family. There are so few excuses that I can give, plus strangers are getting the wrong idea. One guy was really into it, but none of the women that I prefer were. And this was a Teen Wolf reference. If you don't get it, I'm sorry. I was in the restroom with time to kill, so I was looking for some reading material. I'd happened about a box of toilet tank chlorine pucks. Those are those things you put in the toilet and it cleans your toilet, I guess, deodorize it. Anyway, reading the back, I see a skull and crossbones with explicit instructions to never directly touch the puck. But just in case anyone did come into direct contact with the pucks, the instructions say to call 411 and ask for the local mortician. My mother grew up with 5 siblings in my grandparents' 1-bathroom house. Because bathroom access was at a premium, they all got into the habit of asking whenever someone was in the bathroom how long they would be in there. When I was 9, my mother, brother, and I moved into my mother's childhood home. My grandparents had moved to their southern home, and my aunt and uncles had moved out, except my mother's youngest sister. Out of habit, whenever I used the bathroom in the house and my mother needed to use the facilities, she would ask me how long. I never knew how to answer. After years of this, I started responding in different ways. For example, I will be out when I am done, or let me check the timer on my butt, or once I finish this novel, I'm currently on page 8, and finally, shh, I'm sleeping. At a dentist appointment for a teeth cleaning, I signed in and the receptionist greeted me. She asked how was I doing, and I said I am not excited about the pain that I'm about to experience. She assured me that it would be painless. I responded, the last woman to tell me that cost me $350 and left welts in my back made by the whip. The receptionist and others in the waiting room collectively gasped. I responded, I was joking. I did not pay a dominatrix to whip me. She does it for free because she gets pleasure from it. I've decided that as I lie dying, I will yell, "This is your fault!" It does not matter if it is their fault or not. I just want someone to remember my last words. And that is it. That is all I wrote. That's 10 years of idle thoughts put onto a notepad. Anyway, again, constructive criticism. Let me know. Maybe I can punch some of these up. I feel like a couple of them are a little long-winded. I do have one more that popped in my head. Cows taste better as beef rather than as cows. So do with that what you will. I've told a number of people within all of them cracked up because you realize if you go to a cow and try to bite it, it will not be happy with you. Also, it tastes bad. I'd rather have a hamburger. Anyway, ruined it. Anyway, comment. Remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thank you for watching this video. We would also like to thank our contributors and patrons for supporting this video. If you wish to add to the discussion, post a comment below. Please remember to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos. Thank you for checking out our content. Before you leave, please remember to click like and then subscribe. If you want to receive notifications, do not forget to enable them by clicking on the bell. Then afterwards, check out our social media at HaslageNet and our website at haslage.net.